Guneet, is Guneet here? Shreyas, can you check where is Nishchal and Guneet?
Try to little bit.
Anywhere.
Can we have everyone inside, please? You'll have a lot of time to relax whole day. This place is little slow place. You've been running too fast. Sometime, once in a while,
Please
sit back,
don't.
relax,
Yeah.
take a deep breath, do some meditation, and just enjoy your time here. So please, may I request, if I may request everybody not to bring tea or coffee, because last time we had some people who brought in by accident tea and coffee fell on this carpet and gets a little difficult. So I would request everybody to take a sip of coffee or tea and just walk without, but be very careful if you brought it already inside. Rajiv? Come. Come, Gautam. Select whichever seat you want to sit.
No, I think we just need to, there are 4 of you, so it can be spread out.
Give the bag, you can put it.
There's just 4 of you, so it can be spread out. You can come here.
Oh.
It's just, you need to be a little spread out, yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
Free sitting, no.
Okay.
Come.
ठीक है, good. Guneet, I just thought I'll give you this one. Gautam. Right. I'm sorry. Hello. You know, I think it's always good to shoot beyond capacity, which shows that you have a lot of interest. But I think just so that we can start in time, please sit wherever you find an empty seat. There is arrangement here. If you cannot find a seat here, there is arrangement in the boardroom next door and the auditorium next. So please feel comfortable because, you know, we'll adjust in the space in the next some time. So I think just to quickly start, you know, we actually, when we initiated this credit platform discussion, I remember Kunal from PwC and us discussing, and we said it's a very interesting topic which is coming up. And we thought that, you know, we'll have about 60, 70 people. But just when we started, you know, the numbers started shooting up. and even after we stopped registrations, there was a lot of stuff. So we have tried our best to manage the crowd. All of you are most welcome. I'm sorry for the mix-up a bit, but I hope you'll adjust and manage. I think just to start, I think Nishit bhai would like to start up with your opening remark, but just so that I can set out the agenda for the day, we have divided this day into 5 sessions. The first is the inaugural session, which is this session, largely on the macroeconomic framework for the credit platforms and the offshore investors, particularly looking at the credit segment. After that, we are having a marathon session between PwC and us. I think it's a historic partnership that PwC and NDA is having, thanks to Gautam, Kunal, and a lot of PwC partners to come together. It's a 2-hour elaborate session on structures ranging right from offshore to domestic structures, ARCs and everything. Third session is on enforcement. Fourth session is on real estate and infrastructure sector impact, and the last session is on fintech. Between that, we have breaks and all, but just so that you are fully aware of how this is going to be organized. Maybe Nishit bhai, I can just call you for giving opening remark, introducing, and then, yeah.
Thank you so much. You can sit wherever you want. First of all, good morning. And everyone can sit down and relax. I think some people are standing behind. You want to come in front. Some seats are there, but maybe you can do that. Fortunately, and to some extent unfortunately, we thought we'll have about 100 odd people to come to attend this conference. And when we opened up registration, we didn't put any limit. We had about 450 registrations. And it was most embarrassing for us to say no to half the people, because we just didn't have capacity. We are a small law firm, and we do not have big facility, So at least, and in the process, what we have tried to do is we have to open up this conference room so that more people can be accommodated. Also, we opened up auditorium, which is separate place, fully connected, live kind of a situation, all of the facility. And entire sound system is connected here, including in the garden. It's an IoT-driven facility, by the way. So I think we have tried to see as many people can be comforted here. But my first request would be that everyone who is standing behind, please take your seat, sit down, so there is no, hustle bustle, and you will feel more comfortable. So can I request each one to sit down? If you don't have a seat, you then come in front, or there is other boardroom, or wherever you want to sit, you'll be live. So once again, welcome everybody. Thank you so much. And it's really my pleasure to have you all. My name is Nishit Desai. I am the founder of this firm. We are more into what we call advanced predictive legal practice. And what it means is that we try to look to the future. Our philosophy is that every new technology, every new social, political, economic development like this, credit issues coming up, whole country is looking like becoming NPA and stuff like that. How can we change the world together? So our purpose of the firm, with which I started 30 years ago, was to change the world for the better. Even 1 cent we can change, it is good. That is the fundamental thing, and together. It's not, we cannot do everything alone. And so we are now an India-centric global law firm. We have offices worldwide, and but it's a real pleasure to have you all. What I would like to tell you, this facility we have set up, it is IMAGINARIUM, just as you've been to planetarium, aquarium, museum, possibly this is the place for imagining, because to change the world for the better, you need to dream something. You need to think something. You need to imagine something. And in the process, what we found was that how do you imagine, how do you think, and how ideation happens? It happens in different settings. You have some idea. So there is a place, library, solo thinking. Then you take idea to 2 or 3 people. So there is facility for 2 or 3 people to discuss. Then there is facility for 5 people, 10 people. So ideation flowers from individual to collective. So that's how this has been set up. And it's one of the most, I would say, high-tech facility, not only in India, but in the world. And this is the first initiative on setting up an Imaginarium. Just to think, ideate, and dream to change the world. Not only in the field of law or tax, but also it could be technology, philosophy, economics, whatever. It's blue sky thinking and research campus. We are a research-based law firm. Spend about 35% of our time on research, sometimes 40, and try to see whatever little we can do. But at the same time, this facility is what we call a model is private property for public good. So this is a platform for thinkers, ideators, think tanks, other people. Once again, come together, do something. And we don't rent out to anybody. It's our own property. We put in about $20 million, 90% of our own funding. So we have not gone to banks, unfortunately. But idea is that if there is any high-level cause or something that you think, be our guest. So we don't charge rental. There is no rental model. It's a purpose-driven facility. But it's private by invitation, so we want to see what is the purpose, what is the intent, and are we going to create some impact on a slightly larger scale. There are hundreds of incubators and accelerators, so this is not incubator. It's pre-incubation, just for thinking and stuff like that. So this was just a little perspective. This is also called ALIGUNJAN because this is broadly in the Alibag area. Ali is also a neutral name, Hindu, Muslim, everywhere. In Hindus, in Sanskrit, it means Bhaura, the bee. And the musing of a bee is Gunjan. So we said this is humming sound and stuff like that. So this little background on the whole thing. I do not again want to take too much time. We'll continue to discuss, but just relax. As I mentioned, I like to slow you down a little bit, Just don't be in a hurry, rush. You're going to be having a whole life for that, and bankers in particular. So, don't worry, just relax, and whatever you want, just go around, enjoy your time. I just want to welcome Rajiv and Gunit, Manisha, and of course, Gaurav. He has been a great partner for us in this particular event, and I've known him for a long time, and I'm so delighted that you have come, So maybe we can start with Rajiv. We are slightly late, but I think to be late in this place is something not so bad.
It's a panel, so I'll ask questions.
Beg your pardon. So maybe we'll start with Rajiv. If you would like to open, or
no? I think we're making it like
he is my boss, by the way. I'm the head count in the organization. He is my brain count. So
you have about half an hour.
Please.
Or so, no? So I think I'll probably start with you only, Rajiv. You've been pretty much, a father figure, I can say, for financial services, credit market, and also with low capital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I say people have started calling me uncle on the street, which is already disturbing. Now you're making me a father figure. It's okay.
No, I think, Rajiv, my first question to you is that, island affairs crisis has probably been at the forefront for a while. Some people say we are overreacting to it. Some people say that, it happens. But I think somewhere it presents a very disturbing picture. AAA rated one day. In 2 months' time, you're downgraded to D grade. Is it that the whole system collapsed? Is also being probed. How do you look into the whole?
So I wanted to, since taking, first of all, Nishit Bhai, thank you for having us here. The contribution that you're making. And I hope that this will be the first of many future platforms that will get an opportunity to discuss issues like this. But taking a cue from Nishit Bhai, this is actually, ILFS is just a symptom.
Correct.
And for this kind of occasion, it's probably more appropriate to spend a few minutes on speculating or discussing root causes. And I've obviously been reflecting a lot on this because of my own engagement and the nature of my engagement in Indian financial services. And there are 2 or 3 thoughts that I wanted to share. And then you can decide how deep the problem is, okay? You know, I've been now associated, I mean, I was in an executive position at IDFC for 15 years. And I've seen the highs and I've seen the lows. I've been engaged in a sector that is at the heart of a tension in Indian economy in general, which is the interface between the public and the private. All right? You know, after 1991, after however many years of independence, it is only in 1991 that we started allowing private activity to really flourish. So my first observation is that much as the flourishing of private activity has contributed to wealth creation and growth and such like, the biggest untouched area of reform is to develop the capacity of the state administrative machinery to deal with private activity. Now, I think the old debate of, oh, we must privatize everything, government doesn't work, so let's do it private. Infrastructure, this is how we came to private infrastructure. We came to private infrastructure in this country for all the wrong reasons. We came to private infrastructure in this country because government did not have money to invest in public infrastructure. Public infrastructure is a public good. It is not meant for profit, water supply, et cetera, right? I know, I mean, I've spent half my life talking about public-private partnerships, but the point is that it's a public good, harnessing private entrepreneurial energy and animal spirits to deliver a public good in the most sophisticated economy in the world is very hard to do. And we tried to do it in India, starting, you know, in the late 1990s. It's not been an abject failure. There have been some very notable successes. Our telecom story is very, I mean, it's an amazing, amazing story. But there have also been very notable failures. And those failures have happened because of this tension between public and private and the inability, in my view, and this has not really been discussed, of our state administrative machinery and our judicial machinery to actually deal with the growing sophistication of private activity. So the first comment on this is that it's ironic, but to have a vibrant private sector, a vibrant financial system, you must have a very strong and sophisticated state administrative and adjudicating machinery. If that is dysfunctional, you cannot build a properly functioning private. Then you get allegations of soot boot ki sarkar, corruption. You know, it's very easy to say, you are corrupt, everybody is corrupt, right? But the mahal, the environment in which this has happened, has to do with the decline and the falling behind of state capacity relative to the entrepreneurial class. Now coming to, you know, ILFS in this context. And I mean, I can share with you IDFC's experience, and then you can make what you will of ILFS. And I can talk about it freely now. I have no, you know, even if there are no Chatham House rules, I really don't care, right? I can tell you that we petitioned for a bank license whenever it is that we did, because we saw the writing on the wall. It was an existential threat for IDFC. if we had not converted into a bank or found a way of diversifying beyond infrastructure, IDFC today would have been dead. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I couldn't say that when we were petitioning for a bank license. So we made a case, which is a credible case. We talked about the future, right? And we tried to persuade the Reserve Bank of India at that time that, look, if you have now given us a banking license, can you please allow us to run off the bad assets and leave them behind in the old company? No. There was no such thing as principle-based regulation. You have been given a particular licensing, whatever it is, which is written, which is in any case not very well drafted. So there are all kinds of interpretation issues, et cetera, which some people now are litigating, as you know. This is how regulatory edicts are drawn up. But we were then given the opportunity to build a bank. Marta kya nahi karta, right? So we took the bank license. When we started, we had 150 people, 3 branches, a 75,000 crore balance sheet, and we knew at that time that 25% of that balance sheet was short. And we were forced not only to migrate all our bad assets from the parent to the new bank, we were on those bad assets paying regulatory penalties. उस पे PSL भी डालो, उस पे CRR भी डालो, उस पे SLR भी डालो. 30% of my balance sheet is earning 0. Right? Then you force me to list day one. Why? Because my original shareholders were listed. They started saying, "Arey Baba, I must own the bank ab initio. I cannot be treated as a second-class citizen." That when you list the bank 5 years later as an original founding shareholder of IDFC, why should I then be forced to acquire the shares of the bank when it is listed? I must be given shares of that entity today. So you had to, because they were public shareholders, you had to list the bank day one. Now, October 2015, as a listed bank, we started with these initial conditions. Right? So it's like saying, sir, आपको हाथ पैर सब बांध दिए, अब आप बैंक बन जाइए. Right? So, point I'm making is, it was plainly obvious for people who knew anything about infrastructure, for the more fundamental reason that I'm talking about. We can have a more colorful discussion about that conflict between public and private meant. And I'll give you just one anecdotal example, right? Coal India, providing coal for power plants through long-term fuel supply agreements. Now, if they default on this, who's going to take them on? Right? Now then the power plant says, okay, can I substitute Coal India's coal with imported coal? But imported coal is more expensive, so it screws up my economics. So then the question is, can I have a pass-through for imported coal? नहीं, आपके PPA में लिखा था कि ये नहीं possible. So then you stick to the law. The joke in this country is that China has order, we have law.
Correct.
So it becomes spurious legal, we talk about the rule of law, we stick to contractual obligations when everybody knows that the national interest lies elsewhere. It requires some pragmatic decision making, but everybody coming together and saying, look, now this is a bad situation. How are we going to distribute the pain and the losses? Instead, all we ended up doing in a very conflictual situation is pointing fingers at each other, right? So that's the conflict between public and private that led very clearly to the writing on the wall. Infrastructure was going to be in for a big, big problem. Now, if this is what IDFC was going through, right, I can't understand how it was not plainly obvious to sophisticated people, financiers across the system, that this is a big fundamental looming problem in Indian infrastructure, right? But it's human psychology. And I can tell you about the debates we were having internally within IDFC at the time. You know, mere baal pak gaye hain, not trying to persuade people outside the organization, but trying to get people inside the organization to accept that given the institutional framework, or lack thereof, ecosystem for resolving assets in this country, loss given default in project finance is going to be 80 to 90 cents on the dollar. People were unwilling to accept that. So my own ability of, I had to fight my own board, I had to fight my own colleagues for people to understand that this is a long time, it will still require more time to build, right? The organization at a large scale is my reluctance.
Come back. I think very, very interesting point.
Truly significant. But yet into the usual demographics and macro and everything else, I just think enterprises are the others who are going to come ahead for a startup company. And so an NBFC allows you to take the same opportunity and more, probably with some risk of institutional financing. But the opportunity doesn't go away. The opportunity is for real. I think what has happened since September 21st, which if I then think as to, and I was shocked with the response which kept coming back to me of governance being a hygiene factor. And to me, it's a condition precedent, it's a condition subsequent, it's the only way to build a business is if you have very strong values, culture, governance. The